guys, so someone was recently questioning me about my atheism, and they were really frustrated, and they were like, why can't you just say that you're agnostic? Now this is actually something that I hear quite often from people who are religious. They just can't understand how you can identify as an atheist. Like, that just sounds so horrible. But the thing is whenever you say that you're agnostic, agnostic isn't a position of belief. And I'm going to have to go through and explain this very slowly because I keep losing people along the way. I've tried to explain it to friends and it just hasn't really set in with anyone. So I'm going to go very slow in this video. First off, I'm going to say, whenever you have a, the prefix a before a word, it counters that word. So it's like without. So if you say I'm asymptomatic, that means I am without symptoms. I'm healthy or whatever. Okay, so that's what a stands for. So whenever you put a in front of theist, it means you are not a theist, you're not religious. Whenever you put a in front of Gnostic, that means Gnostic means knowledge. So that means you don't have knowledge of whatever you're talking about. In this case, it's referring to religion or whether or not there's a God. So whenever you say you're agnostic about whether or not there's a God, that's not a position of belief, that's a position of knowledge that everyone should subscribe to. Everyone should say, I'm agnostic about whether or not there's a God because you can't prove it either way. It's impossible to disprove a negative. So there you have it. Atheists are agnostics, and agnostics are atheists, even though sometimes you can be agnostic theists, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But for the purpose of this part of the video, whenever you say I'm agnostic, by itself, that doesn't describe anything. You're either agnostic theist or agnostic atheist. The only people who have seen identify as not agnostic are people who are super Christian and think that they know the answers and they have all the facts, which is flat out wrong because they don't. But they don't claim to be agnostic because they say that they know, they have knowledge. So atheism is just a lack of belief in God. We're not claiming to know that God doesn't exist, therefore atheists are agnostics. But if you claim that you're only agnostic, that's nothing. That's not a belief system at all. You can't be like, well, I'm not an atheist, but I'm not a Christian, so I'm agnostic. That's bullshit. That's a cop-out. I really wish people wouldn't say that anymore. And even if you do want to say that, fine. It's better than being a Christian and being, in your face about certain things, or even being one of those Christians who use the no truth gospel fallacy where they're like, well, I'm not that kind of Christian. All the Christians that do awful things, they're not real Christians. I'm the real Christian. At least they're not doing that, because that gets on my nerves even more. But just because you don't believe in God doesn't mean you have to claim that you know He doesn't exist. That's not what atheists are doing. So if you reject man-made religion, close the door on it completely. Don't leave it open and allow religious people to creep back into your beliefs and change the way that you think and convince you that things that you have no evidence or proof for are real, and beyond them being real, they're fact, and we know that they're real. Most atheists that I've talked to, including myself, have gone through a process of being like each of the things that I've talked about. We've been the Christian who've been like, oh no, we're not like those Christians, and those Christians aren't even the real Christians. I've done that. I did that for a long time, and then I claimed that I was agnostic for a long time, which I'm technically still agnostic, and there was a little part of me that just had the emotional connection to the idea of being religious, or the idea that maybe there was someone looking after me. That's a hard pattern to break. That's a hard belief system to get rid of. It took me a long time. I didn't turn into an atheist overnight. It was a very long process, and it wasn't fun, and it was irritating, and I got upset, and I was frustrated with myself, and I felt like I had been lied to, and I was. And it's not the easiest thing to do. But whenever you get to that point, please don't say that you're agnostic. Just say that you're an atheist, because it's going to make it easier for everyone else to admit it too. And honestly, it's just not right to say that you're agnostic. You're either agnostic atheist or agnostic theist. If you want to combine the two and say I'm an agnostic atheist, then fine, because technically that's what everyone is. But don't just say agnostic and get rid of the atheist part because you don't like the way that it sounds, because that's what you are. And there's no such thing as just an agnostic. If you're an agnostic and you don't believe in God, but you think that maybe there could be, guess what? You're an atheist. Just throwing that out there, clearing up some definition issues that people have been having. I actually posted a question about this on my Facebook and Twitter, and if you haven't already followed me on Twitter and liked my Facebook page, go do that right now. It's in the description. But this was a question I posed to people who were already following me, people in my audience, and more than half of them didn't know the difference, and they thought that agnosticism was a valid belief system, which I tried to say before. It's a position of knowledge, not a belief system. So since so many people that I posted my question to just didn't know, or they were confused, people were arguing in the comments, I was like, okay, I think that this is enough to make a video about. Hopefully it cleared some things up for people. And if you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share it everywhere. If you want to, check out my website, www.jacquelineglenn.com. I've got some awesome t-shirts that say logic and fiction, and it helps me out a lot and other atheist vloggers on YouTube. Whenever you buy those shirts, it helps support the community. So if you want to, check it out. There's a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I will see all of you agnostic atheists, theists, agnostics, atheists, religious people later. All right, bye.
There's no God, he doesn't exist, so don't try to save me, use your fucking